Hey guys, it's Elizabeth Potts Weinstein, and I want to record a video for you guys about when things go wrong on social media, really specifically about brands, about companies and business owners who are using social media to communicate with their customers, to communicate with their clients, and addressing customer service issues, client service issues publicly, online. You may have people who are reviewing your products or services on Yelp, on Facebook, on Twitter, and you're handling that. Dealing with issues, dealing with people's reviews, dealing with people publicly commenting about your work. And how do you handle those issues when things go wrong? As well as when things go right, but really we're addressing when things go wrong. There's this conversation that Upwork has been facilitating, and that's one of the reasons I'm recording this video. I was going to be writing a blog post, but today's my 41st birthday, and I started writing a blog post. I was like, I'd much rather do a video, so here you go. I want to tie this into the Biz Boundaries series that I've been doing on Periscope, and also the blog posts or the video series, the 10 days video series that I did back in September. This very much relates to that. If you're a business owner, social media manager, you're dealing with a client, a customer who has a problem with the product or service and does a review or complains about it on Twitter, what do you do? Now, the first thing is to not be taking this personally. If you're the social media manager, maybe you're not taking it personally, but if you're the business owner whose name is on that business, it may be very hard to do. And you may need to first stop and go have a cup of tea, go for a walk. You may need to chill out, take a step back, because it is incredibly important to not take that person's comments personally, to not be emotionally involved when you respond to it. Because it is not about you, it is about them. It is about their experience. Most likely, 99% of the time, this is a misunderstanding. That's usually what happens. It could be a misunderstanding on something that's on your side. It could be something that should have been in your contract, that should have been in your terms, that should have been in your marketing materials and wasn't. And in that case, this is a great lesson and you're going to change your stuff moving forward. It could have been a misunderstanding on their side. There was something they didn't tell you. And if they had told you that, you wouldn't have done business with them, or maybe you would have changed what thing you would have recommended for them to do, or they used the product or service wrongly, right? Could be on their side. Or it could be both. And a lot of times it's actually some of both. That's most of the time is actually some of both. So knowing that, just assume this is probably a misunderstanding on one or both sides. When you assume that, it really helps to not take things personally. Step one. Step two, approach this as this is a misunderstanding on one or both sides, that somebody or both sides do not have the right information. So knowing that, let's figure out how to get the right information to whoever needs it. And let's get them the information they need. That was one of the big issues I had when my website went down a few weeks ago. It wasn't just the fact that my website went down because stuff like that happens. It was the fact that my website went down and I didn't even know. The company didn't even tell us until we went on our website and it was down. And it had been down for we didn't know how long. That's one of the reasons I went to Twitter to complain. Because it was a lack of communication. That was the problem. So getting the right information, starting that conversation. Yes, a lot of times people do need an apology, but a lot of times they also just need data. Make sure you're not condescending in the apology. Make sure you don't give a non-apology apology. Don't just tell people, I'm sorry you feel that way, because that's not really an apology. I also be careful about saying things like, thank you for your patience, because that just makes me mad when people tell me that personally, because I'm actually not patient at all. So it assumes facts, not in evidence. Yes, I'm a lawyer. So because I am not patient. So tell me thank you for your patience actually is ridiculous because I'm not patient at all. Third, there are times, 99% of the time, you're going to run into people who actually are reasonable people, and as soon as you get them the information they need and you have a true apology, it's going to be fine. There's that 1% of the time you're going to be dealing with somebody who is a completely ridiculous, non-reasonable person, and this is going to explode potentially. And in that case, you need to figure out how to contain the situation and enforce boundaries around the situation as soon as possible. You may need to be escalating that person to the business owner or whoever, the president of whatever, the vice president of whatever, or however it works in your company. It may need to go to legal. There needs to be a procedure that happens. And that procedure needs to exist to a decision maker, whoever that appropriate person is, not some social media intern. There needs to be a person it gets reported to if someone starts to explode. And because there are that set of people who are completely unreasonable, who can make your life incredibly difficult. And it is even if they say things that are false, that really are defamatory. In the United States, people have freedom of speech, and here in California with anti-SLAPP laws and things, it is incredibly difficult to get stuff taken down, even if it is defamatory. So in light of that, we want to make sure that we diffuse the situation as soon as possible and get ourselves out of it as soon as possible. So you want to be able to escalate things to a decision maker and maybe also to legal as soon as we realize that person is part of that very tiny minority of people who are not reasonable people. So you want to be able to figure that out, which is a gut check issue, which comes with experience. So you want to know who is the person you escalate it to, who is going to be some kind of a decision maker person. So you want to have that procedure in place in your business. And you want to be able to keep records. So when you have those situations, you want to be able to make sure that in your business, in your social media, whatever you're using to communicate with people, things don't get deleted. So that way they have records of all those different communications and instant messages and the various ways you communicate with people. So if they need to use that to prove anything up on some later basis, that they're going to have that the lawyers are going to have that in case they need that someday. There are times where you still do want to take things public. There are times where you're still going to be communicating with that, even if legal is going to be handling that too. And there are times, I've had clients where we've had to handle these incredibly difficult situations where they've had, I can't really talk about this stuff, obviously, because it was public things that happened. But these are incredibly difficult situations to deal with. And as such, you want to have decision makers involved. You want to have legal involved because these are issues that it's possibly the press is going to be watching it. You may have government officials watching the situation. You may have, there's going to be people reviewing things. Social media is going to be looking at stuff. I mean, this can be messy really, really fast, and it's all going to be public. And it happens so quickly when someone incredibly unreasonable is the one who is creating huge drama. So you want to catch it before it explodes. So my overall tip for this is 99% of the time, or even a higher percentage of the time, it doesn't need to explode. You just need to get people the information they need, correct the misunderstanding, diffuse the problem, not take things personally, and it'll all be good. And then that tiny percentage of the time you're dealing with somebody who's truly incapable of being reasonable. And I don't just mean they're unreasonable in that moment. I mean they actually have no reasonableness like involved in their humanity. Then you need to realize who they are so you can escalate it to a decision maker at the company, and then they can decide what to do. So again, this is Elizabeth Potts Weinstein. I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely weekend, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.